Hello and welcome to SAFC Fan TV, Thursday Night Live. There's just two of us. Lucky it's the best two for you guys, but you know, there's only two of us in today. Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, just the two of us today. So we'll try and bounce off each other as much as we can to give you plenty of content to all the viewers. Unfortunately, we can't bring another win, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. But yeah, been a decent day. We're edging towards the weekend. So yeah, this is always sort of the gateway to the weekend, isn't it? When you get towards this show, you know, Friday's just around the corner.
Yeah, definitely. Which usually is an exciting time for a football fan, but as a Sunderland fan, as of late, it's not been the greatest time. Use this opportunity, the fact there's only two of us, to get your comments in there, get your questions in there, fill it up. You know, make Jack work for his wage. He gets paid the same as me. Zero. So we will go straight to the game. Yeah. My prediction was 3-1 for the game. Can't remember what your prediction was. Can you remember your prediction?
I think I said 2-0 Southampton, so I was right margin of defeat, depressingly, but we got the score slightly wrong.
Yeah. So first half for me, again, just didn't look like we were threatening at all. And yeah, I'll you know what, we'll get your take on it first. Just do the first half, Jack. The 2-0 first half.
I'll just bring the comments in first, just as an introduction. So Paul Armstrong says, hi, everybody. Mickey Mack, evening, everybody. Hopes the team can cheer everyone up at the weekend because it's been a long, depressing week. Sure, you're not the only one, Mickey. Mick Coleman is in and he says, evening, chaps. Colin Major also says, hello, lads. Paul Armstrong's just mentioned what defence we're going to put out with injuries and suspension. We'll definitely come on to that later on in the show. Yeah, first off, Southampton. Do you know what it is? I felt like they're always going to be dangerous. They've got quality. They've got a really good championship team, haven't they? You know, you look at the attacking players that they've got and you compare them to some of ours and let's be honest, they've got a stronger side than us 111. They have particularly in the front three. I mean, the front three with Shea Adams and Armstrong, the Geordie Armstrong and Brooks. That's a pretty dangerous front three by anyone's stretch of the imagination. And I felt like we were doing okay. It was just 10 or 15 minutes. I actually think we started slightly better. That was probably about as good as it got for us. But the frustrating thing from my point of view is the goals that we conceded. The first goal that we conceded, I mean, Southampton have got good attacking players. And to concede such a sloppy, soft goal that, let's be honest, I seem to be saying it more and more regularly with Sunderland, but if your Sunday league team conceded that, Mike, wouldn't you be frustrated? You'd be putting your finger at your mates, you know, on a Sunday league pitch. Never mind the team that allegedly got ambitions to be in the Premier League. It's just a catalogue of errors for that first goal. I mean, obviously Bellingham's going to get the blame for the header, but I actually think Patterson and the other defenders around him should also take the blame because there's nobody shouting to Bellingham to leave it. All that would need would be a shout from somebody to say leave it and the ball goes wide. Or keeper could come out and get, you know, could Patterson come out and get it, or could there be better communication to head it? So I can see what he's trying to do, but he gets it wrong, and obviously it ends up in the back of our net. So really, it's always going to be difficult, really, really difficult when you go to Southampton and you're 1-0 down and you're chasing the game so early. And then we can't really react from that. And then the second goal comes in as well within sort of 5 or 10 minutes. Again, another really, really sloppy goal. We didn't make them work hard enough for the goals at all. I mean, the penalty. I'm not going to be too critical of. I'm not going to be too critical of Chris Rigg because he is young, but he shouldn't really be diving in there, should he? Let's be honest. That's where you need to expect.
I've looked at the replay God knows how many times, and I'm still it's stupid in that position. It is stupid, but his studs are down. He's in front of the player. It's not all that malicious. It's not all... I mean, I do feel for him.
Oh, yeah, I can see what he's trying to do. He sort of made a rash decision to get man and ball and clear it, but it looks like the Southampton player's just been a little bit too quick for him. And obviously any player in that position is going to go down. Like you say, Mike, it's not the worst tackle you'll ever see. It's not the most brutal penalty that the referee will give all season or for the rest of the season, but you can see it's a penalty and 2-0 down, and it was always going to be difficult for them. So first off, that was what frustrated me. I'm sure that the people will probably agree. We didn't make Southampton work hard enough to get those two goals. They were really, really easily conceded from our perspective. And particularly when we're low on confidence, it was always going to be a long way back.
Does that inexperience from Rigg doing something like that make you think he shouldn't be starting at this stage? He should still be coming on as shorter appearances, getting used to it?
I don't know, because I'm a big advocate of playing him. So I think, yeah, you can hold your hands up and say he's made a mistake. Has he cost us the game? Probably not, because there's an argument we could have lost the game anyway without doing that. He's definitely cost us a goal. But I think the only way he is going to improve, Mike, is by playing regularly and making those mistakes and improving. We talk about it a lot, but he's still hellishly young. Is he still 16? I don't think he's even 17 yet, is he? So he is. That's the only way he's going to learn, is by making those mistakes and playing them. And we've probably got nothing to lose. So I would keep on playing, but maybe in that scenario, maybe just try and tell him not to get too defensively deep, because I think he's probably better off on the front foot. What he's doing sort of in his own box, putting tackles in anywhere, I don't know. Maybe you could blame our all-round defenders that he had to do that.
Is it not mad that we're playing a 16-year-old at this level of football? Is it not insane? Does it not feel desperation?
I think so. I don't know about desperation, but I know what you mean. It's sort of, we're down to bare bones to a certain extent, but this is the model that they are going to go down, as we talk about every week. So they are going to try and give opportunities to young players. And I've wanted it so you can't be too critical of Chris Rigg when he makes a mistake. Bellingham made a mistake for the first goal and Chris Rigg for the second one. So there's our two youngest players on the pitch who've both contributed to being 2-0 down. I know Bellingham wasn't the only one. You could argue the keeper and the other defenders around him could be to blame. But should I go to the comments, Mike? I think there's been a bit of...
go to the comments before we jump on the second half.
So, Paul Armstrong, as he mentioned, what defence we're going to put out, I'll come on to that later. Conrad Tank says, evening all. Jeanette Atkinson, it's unreal how Speakman is still in hiding while the ship is sinking in front of his eyes. She thinks it's disgusting. That's quite strong language from Jeanette there. I can sort of see points of what she's saying. He's not somebody to come out and give a lot of explanations, but don't know if the ship is sinking, but we are struggling. We will all agree with that. Bristolian Mackham says that on the Leicester stream, after Ballard goes down and the ref says no penalty, Chowdhury walks back over to Ballard, stands over him and shouts something, then stamps on the back of his leg with his studs in, and that should have been a red card. I think Bristolian Mackham's gone back to the Leicester game before the Southampton game. But I don't know did we bring that up last week, Mike? Did anybody bring that up on the chat? I didn't notice that, so you might have picked up on something there from last week. So I didn't notice that.
No, I didn't. I can't say. I know. There should have been a red card in there for them. That might have been the instance, but it's gone out of my head at the moment, off the top of my head. But yeah, it's an interesting point. It's something I'm going to have a look at after this and have a look back on that one. It might be something to touch on an extra one.
Bristolian Mackham might have hit the nail on the head there. I don't think any of us picked up on that, and it certainly wasn't mentioned on last week's show when we did the Leicester review. But
he's in the know. Bristolian Mackham, you're in the know. We've got 2 spaces here. Come and join the podcast. That's what you need to do.
We could do with a nice sort of, is Bristol West Country accent, would you call it? I don't know if he's got that sort of accent. Who knows? He might still have a Northeast accent. Mick Coleman says, Pato made a meal of at least 1 goal. He didn't even have to dive. All he had to do was catch the thing or punch it away. Anything but push the ball straight back to the Southampton player. I think Mick's talking about the first goal when the player shot at him and he sort of parried it out. That is an interesting point that Mick picks up, because if that was the 1 goal, I would say, well, it's 1 goal. But I've noticed it quite a lot in the last couple of months, Mike. Patterson has parried a lot of shots that have sort of either gone straight out or, they've gone back into a dangerous area, and we have conceded from it. There was one against Birmingham, I think, like that. Swansea, the goals was like that, I think. Southampton. So that it's just the 1 goal. This has happened sort of 4 or 5 times in the last couple of months now.
When I was a goalkeeper, you were taught that from the start, though. It's like, if you're not 100% sure you're going to get a grip on that ball, punch, palm, hit, get it away. It's like an if in doubt sort of thing. And there's very few keepers that are as good as the likes of Schmeichel, who could pick out a ball from midair with super glue hands. You know what I mean? So maybe he's just reverting back to panic hit, and just getting it away.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at the sort of the actual shot that comes in as well, because some shots, the keeper, all he can do, like he says, Mike, is get his hands on it and get it away from the goal. But I think other shots, where I'd agree with Mick to a certain extent, Mick Coleman, I do think he should be doing better with some of the shots that he has faced. I think there are some quite soft hands, and he's patting it right out. And he could probably do more to turn it away or try and catch it, as Mick says. Might be a bit hard with that one at the weekend, but I think he probably could have maybe turned it further away from goal. Colin Major says Speakman is out on his way out in the summer. Easy for me to say. And Paul Havelock says, evening, Jack and Mike.
Yeah, but just going back to the goalkeeper thing, I think we've mentioned before that we need like an experienced goalkeeper to come in and sort of guide him. I think more and more I watch him. If I watch him for a full 90 minutes and pay close attention to the goal to Patterson, he shows his inexperience a lot of times. He's obviously been given instructions to distribute it short, but he does that no matter what. An experienced keeper would see that there's two players around that guy, don't roll it to him, but he'll give it to somebody in danger. So I have noticed that a lot with him.
Yeah, I think as well. I think for me, it could do with a little bit of competition. Maybe if we had an experienced goalkeeper, not just somebody who has got a little bit more know-how, but in situations where he's out of form slightly, and he's not the only one. I don't want to come across as like we're hammering Patterson, because he's not the only player out of form. We've got a whole team out of form. But in situations like that, an experienced goalkeeper would be able to just play for a few games and maybe take the pressure off him a little bit, because he knows that he's number one, and he is always going to be number one. The full focus is on him, so he knows that every mistake is probably going to be more amplified. And even if he does have a pretty good game, that's going to be sort of swept under the carpet the moment he makes a mistake, because there's no alternative and we're stuck with him. So particularly when you're struggling, you do notice things like that a little bit more. If we're winning games and he costs us a goal's conceded, you're not too bothered. But when you're struggling and your goalkeeper's out of form as well and you're conceding goals, it's like a vicious circle, isn't it? And he isn't looking great at the minute, I would agree.
It's probably one of the most high pressure roles on the team, because it's the only one where you can't directly blame anyone else, especially when it comes to things like a penalty and a free kick and a set piece. It's all on your head, so it's difficult. And even no matter how much somebody says you're okay, don't worry about it, as a keeper you're constantly thinking about it.
Yeah, and it's like you're the last line of defence. If a striker makes a mistake, you've got the midfielder makes a mistake, you've got the defence. And even if the striker's still got to go through and get past the goalkeeper, but goalkeeper makes a mistake, and 8 or 9 times out of 10, it's going to cost you a goal. So it can be quite a fragile place. And for a young goalkeeper like that, by all means, he's played a lot of games at this level, which is great. But sometimes I think if we had an experienced goalkeeper to take the pressure off a little bit, somebody maybe 30, 34 rather than early 20s, between those ages, that would be beneficial just for a couple of games, maybe just so he can sort of take the pressure off him a little bit. But we haven't got that at the minute, so it's difficult for Patterson.
Yeah, and if we stick with this model so rigidly, we'll never get that. Right, second half of the Southampton game. I mean, for doing match commentary, the second half started amazingly for me. I mean, because we got the 2 goals to make the comeback at like the 62 minutes and 71 minutes. Mundell's goal, absolutely loved it. Absolute stunning goal. I've said he's special since he first came on. Bellingham goal, kind of gutted, because I'd been slating him for 70 minutes.
I was going to say, when you said gutted, I was thinking, what's he talking about? Why would you be gutted?
No, I was slating him for 70 minutes, saying how he couldn't be on the pitch. And then he scores, and I think, great, that's him starting every game from now on. And obviously then, Joe Rothwell. With every player,
Mike? Sorry to interrupt. Can you do that with every player? Just slaughter every player, and then you never know. Every player might play a blinder and make you look stupid. Hopefully,
you're all shite.
Yeah, reverse psychology.
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people shouting that from the ground at the moment already. Joe Rothwell went for Southampton, bags 2, 3 minutes apart, and just put us to bed. What did you think of the second half? We started so strong.
Yeah, I was pleased. I mean, we weren't brilliant, but we were much better. We got on the ball a little bit more, didn't we? And we started to push our men forward. And attacking wise, when we get it right, we can cause any team trouble in our league. We saw it against Leicester. We had Leicester hanging on, who were top of the league. We've already beaten Leeds, and we've hammered Southampton earlier in the season. When we get all of our attacking players moving forwards and we're playing at a high tempo and there's fluency there between us, we can cause any team in the league a problem. And for that sort of 10-minute spell from sort of just after half time till maybe 15-minute spells from sort of 55 minutes to 70 minutes, we looked like we were going to make a real game of it. In the first goal, it's sort of opportunistic from Mundell. He gets half an opening and goes for it. And yeah, there's a little bit of a deflection, but fair play for him for having the courage to actually have a shot, because a lot of players would have probably passed it in that scenario. And we've spoken on this show, haven't we, a lot about overplaying. Sometimes if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the raffle. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to have a shot and the keeper makes a mistake and you get a deflection. It spins into the back of the net. And then obviously within sort of 8, 9, 10 minutes, whatever it was, we're level from a brilliant goal from Joe Bellingham. Puts it in the top corner. And everything's hunky-dory, 2-2. We're coming back. If anything, for a couple of minutes, it looked like we were going to go on and win it. I think this is part of our trouble. Rather than sort of not sitting back, but just taking it steady for 5 minutes, we then went out and thought, right, 2-2, well, let's go and try and get the winner. And Southampton caught us twice, didn't, on the counter-attack, and suddenly bang, bang, 4-2. And it's game over, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, the defence was shocking for their 2 goals as well. It was just all over the place. Obviously, we're struggling in defence at the moment with injuries. But Sealt just hasn't got it for me. He's just not a decent enough standard. Ballard was taken off. Was it injury? Was it he pulled up or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he sort of pulled up, and then I think he tried to run it off, Mike. He tried to.
Yeah, he
got up and looked like he was going to be okay. I think we wanted to sub him, and he says, "No, I'm okay." And went down a minute or two later, and some fans are giving him stick because they thought he was faking it. I don't think he was. I think he's the type that would say, "I'm all right. Let me get back on the pitch," and he could.
And you lose Ballard, obviously, in a game like that. It's massively detrimental. What did you think? I mean, by every game, the last few games with Dodds, we seem to play better once the subs come on, and it's the team that should have almost started. He started Burstow. He didn't start Ekwa, which I find odd when Ekwa bagged 2 against this team. He would have the confidence in this one. You know what I mean? It's really unusual decisions for me.
The only slight thing I can think of was that he thought we wouldn't have a lot of the ball, so I'll play Burstow and he might be able to win a few wins and hold the ball up. But I can't really even understand that, because if you're going to if you know they're going to have a lot of the ball and they're going to play out from the back, you want Rushan on, you want a pressing striker on, someone who's going to stretch the defenders and everything. So I'm not sure what Rushan's done wrong to have so little starts, because I think he's probably looked the best of the 3 recently anyway, at least. So I'm not really sure why that was the case. But yeah, I agree. I think when the subs did come on, we did start and look a little bit better, didn't we? You know, we started to play a little bit higher up the pitch. Ash came on and I thought he did okay as well. He was involved. Him and Rushan came on together, and then for 10 or 15 minutes, I say, we genuinely looked like we were going to get back into it and sustain a period of trying to win the game. But the 2 counter-attacking goals killed us off. Just go back to the chat, because there's been quite a few comments, Mike. Bristolian Mackham says, I have a normal urban English accent. It's a bit like London, but there's a bit of Scottish in there as well. Okay, quite a mix going on there. London, Bristol, Scotland, and the Mackham if he's a bit part Mackham. Bob Bass, Patterson, he's had a lot of plaudits for young keeper, but honestly, he's been our weak point in defence. Well, I think me and Mike would probably be inclined to agree with you, particularly recently, Bobby has been poor. Bristolian Mackham says again, I'd like to see Rigg starting, and on set pieces, he's a very good free kick taker. Kenny Fox, how much of the issue right now do you think is the model versus injuries? Paul Havelock, I honestly think we could have done more in the transfer market. Too much pressure has been placed on the team. They can't handle this league. Mick Coleman says, after the equaliser, we made the same mistake. We went straight forward for the 3rd when we should have slowed the game down. I would be inclined to agree, Mick. I think that was what I was touching on. We sort of got a little bit ahead of ourselves and chased it too much and pushed people forward when we got back to 2-2. And a point would have been a decent result, to be honest. DJ Sizzler Watson, regarding Patterson, do you not think with no number 9, you can't release the ball quickly up front? That might be something, Mike. Do you think that the fact we haven't got a big target man, as DJ is saying, is the problem because he's trying to play out and he's maybe not good enough?
I don't know, because as much as Bellingham does wrong, he can win a header, and he has done when we have had to distribute it long. And there's nothing to say he can't distribute it long down our wings. We even without Jack Clark, we've got Mundell and Barr and Al-Shish and whoever else plays on the outside, Styles sometimes. We've got all them players that could get on a ball and put some pace on. There's no excuse for playing a hospital ball into danger for me.
We used to do it quite a bit when we had. Remember, and I'm going way back and slightly on a tangent. When we had Ahmed Al Mohammadi, he used to be a winger, but he used to win a lot of balls from the goalkeeper and diagonal. We used to play it diagonally from the goalkeeper. He would win the flick on, and then we would get the players in behind and go from there. So I know what you mean. There are other options, and I think it's a difficult one because you don't want to turn into a long ball team. But I completely agree. When the danger's on and they're pressing us high up, I don't see the value at all in trying to pick out a teammate, and you're best off just trying to get rid and
you're better to lose the possession in their half after a long ball than lose the possession right in front of your goal and your own defenders.
Yeah, I agree. Just a couple of more chats to go to. The Bristolian Macamon again. Ballard got his injury from the stamp on the back of his leg. I saw him struggling in the next match at Southampton. He might be right. That stamp against Leicester that might have contributed to the poor fitness level that he had at Southampton, because he wasn't moving very freely, I didn't think, in the second half at all. One thing I do want to talk about with Ballard, though, Mike, I noticed him coming into midfield a little bit on Saturday. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that.
He pushed up high a few times. I did mention that because in the commentary I went, "Oh, that's Neil. Hang on, that's not Neil. That's Ballard. What's he doing up there?"
Yeah, because I mean, he carries it out a few times, but normally he doesn't sort of go into the opposition half. And it wasn't just once. I noticed it about 4 or 5 times throughout the game. He was sort of driving forward and trying to bring the ball further up. So I would hate to think he's going to turn into a defensive midfielder, but I thought he did quite well because he can play football, Ballard. He is good on the bottom in terms of his technical ability for centre-back. And he as a centre midfielder, you're not going to want somebody of his physique sort of charging towards you with the ball. So I think that could be something he can do a little bit more if we need to get out and, somebody to drive and pick the ball up and carry it a little bit.
Could that be frustration, do you think? Because, I mean, Ballard's probably one of the more experienced players in the team when it comes to footballing time and game time. Is it frustration watching us just make a hash of everything? So he just thinks, I'm going to go and do it myself. Because you see it all the time with players. I think that's sometimes why 09 goes on a run, because he thinks everyone's heads are dropping. Something needs to happen.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. And he can get a good sort of vision of the pitch from where you're at centre-back. Sometimes in the middle when it's sort of 100 mile an hour, it's difficult to get the vision and see where the balls are, see where the passes are on. So if he can pick the ball up and sort of drive forward and open up a bit of space, he might be able to create something from where he is. Yeah, you might be right with that. It might be him taking matters into his own hands to a certain extent.
Yeah. Well, if you want to see the most bipolar commentary ever, go and watch the commentary I did on the game, because I go from depression to elation back to depression again in a very short period. It's great. I think we'll just answer one of the questions you read in the comments. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen there. How much of the issue right now do you think is the model versus injuries? It's an unusual comparison to try and make.
I don't know. I think it's probably a combination of things. I think it's just form. I mean, we've been in form earlier in the season to a certain extent where we've won matches 3 or 4 on the spin. We had that decent spell over December where we beat West Brom and Leeds, and I think you're losing form now, and it's difficult with a young team to get the confidence back up when you've lost 6 in a row, and the ambition for the season's gone. So I think it's partly form. I think the injuries aren't helping. We are a young squad, probably wafer thin in certain areas, and when you get a few injuries all together all at once, doesn't help. And it tends to be when you're struggling, you get the injuries. When you're playing well, you've got 2 and 3 players making themselves play for every position, and everything's great. But when you're struggling, you pick up injuries, and when it ends, it paused to a certain extent. I think it's probably more, but I do appreciate the criticism of the model. I do think we sort of blended a lot of youngsters all at once. And we've done this argument of death. We do need a little bit of experience within the team and squad depth as well. We need to sort of improve our squad depth, because we are quite thin in certain areas and heavy in other areas. Obviously, we've spoken about defensive midfield, nothing there, very little up front, but we seem to have quite a plethora of attacking midfielders. We've got the likes of Bundle and Barr and Clark and Roberts, Bellingham and Rigg to a certain extent. So I think we've got sort of 6 or 7 players for that position, not players for other positions. So there definitely need to be a bit more balance in the squad and experience and older players as well.
Yeah, definitely. So about 9 games to go, is it, in the league? 7 points away from relegation. I've never seen it so tight between like the relegation positions to mid-table. It's like there's 2-3 games in it. So 27 points up for grabs. Sheffield United, who are 23rd, who are in the relegation position, have won 4 out the last 5 games. Are we in a relegation battle already?
No, I don't think so. If we were to lose the next 3 or 4 in a row, and it goes from 6 in a row to 9 or 10 losses in a row, then the answer to that would be yes, we are in a relegation battle. But at the minute, I think we'll be okay. I always look at the points rather than the position, and I think at the minute, probably 50 points. It's going to be more than a point a game from 46 games. I think they're probably 50 points. I would like to think and keep you up. I definitely think 52 or 53. So we definitely need one more win. And if we want to make absolutely cast iron certain, we need 2 more wins. But I think one more win. If we get a win on Saturday and get to 50 points, I can't see us going down with that total. I think we'd be incredibly unlucky to lose the last 8 and go down with 50 points. Stranger things have happened, but I don't think that'll happen. So I think we're okay for now, but we need some points and quickly just to make certain.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people go into the model and stuff like that now. It's interesting that not many people are jumping on Dodds' back as they were for He Who Shall Not Be Named before Dodds. But the manager talk has got to, I don't know what's happening, if they're still going to persist to keep him till the end of the season or what, because I keep seeing different rumours popping up all the time that Alex Neil's still interested. What was the one I posted on the group before? Was it Dwight York's he's literally come out publicly, said he's applied for the Sunderland job. What would you take him?
Definitely not. No.
No.
As much as I like Dwight York as a person, I think he's good crack. He comes across as a really likable guy. He's always smiling, and he did a decent job for a couple of years for us, didn't he, Mike? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't want Dwight York as a manager. I wouldn't want him anywhere near it, to be fair. I just think it's got disaster written all over it. So no, would be the answer to that. Quite firm, no.
Yeah. What if he came alongside somebody else? That'd be interesting, because it wasn't Keane that brought him in originally. And when Keane brought him in, if you watch Keane's interview that he did about Sunderland and that, he said that he brought him in more so because he can do stuff with the team. He can gel the lads. He's that kind of backroom, player. So,
yeah, I think that's what I mentioned with his personality. I've read both of Roy Keane's books, and in his second book, he talks about taking the Sunderland manager's job, and he says he knew that Dwight York liked a challenge, and he was playing in Australia at the time, if you can remember. He says I thought Yorkie liked a challenge, so he says he was on Bondi Beach in Sydney at the time, and he says, Yorkie, do you fancy coming up to Sunderland? And he was like, Sunderland's freezing cold, isn't it? He says, it's all right, man. You've got beautiful coastline up here. You don't need to be on Bondi Beach. It's quite a culture shock from Sydney to Sunderland. Let's be honest. I know where I'd probably rather be, but he fancied it. He came in and he did well, and he was quite an underrated player, I felt, Dwight York, because he made his name as a striker for Aston Villa and Man United and scoring goals. But if you remember, he was a defensive midfielder for us, and he used his experience, something that we're crying out for now, ironically, sort of passing and protecting the back four. And he did quite well here, but I haven't followed his managerial career, to be honest, and I don't think I would want him anywhere near it. So I know that, it's sort of silly season when there's managerial roles about, but now I don't want Dwight York as much as I like him.
The fact I bring him up, do you think that, obviously with Keane, you mentioned there, he just rang up Yorkie because he knew him stuff. Do you think as a manager who is an high-level player, as much as they might not have as much manager experience, do you think they bring something with them contacts, the little black books they bring with them? Is that not an appeal to get somebody like that purely for his contacts and his little black book?
Possibly. I think it's just my opinion, but I think what we have to look for in our next manager, it has to be somebody who's got not a track record, but got pretty decent levels of experience with young players. I think we're an incredibly young squad, and you want somebody who's going to be able to relate to young players and get the best out of young players, and good training methods that are going to sort of develop them. I think that's for me. I don't care whether he's English or foreign or whatever. or what his history in the game is. I think it's critical for me that somebody has that experience of young players and developing them, and if you can have a track record with young players, somebody who's maybe had an under-21 role or something like that, that would be, I think, the way that they would look at, and that's a huge thing for me in terms of who you're appointing. I think it has to be somebody that fits that criteria.
You know who fits that criteria, though, don't you? Alex Neil. But he was so if anybody's not seen it, there's a channel on here called EFL Debates. Go and check that out. There's an interview with Alex Neil, did it 2 days ago, which you're all thinking, boo, Alex Neil, yeah, don't want to go and watch that. Skip to 40 minutes in and watch and get his take on what happened. He wanted to be at Sunderland. This is his own words, I'm paraphrasing. He wanted to be at Sunderland. He saw his future at Sunderland. We got promotion, and like any person in the industry, you get promotion. A player gets promotion. And they're doing well. They want to renegotiate the contract. And he went to the office basically to say, I want to extend my contract. I want a better contract so we can go forward with this. And they basically said, no, you've got what you've got. That's your deal. And that forced his hand on the Stoke thing. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I haven't seen the interview, so you'll know more about it than I do. I think it's sometimes difficult with this because he's always going to paint a rosy picture of himself, isn't he? He's always going to portray himself as this man that was sort of we didn't give the best deal to, and he looked for other options. I don't know. I think Alex Neil, I thought he was a really good manager. It would have been really interesting to see how he would have done the Championship as Sunderland manager. We'll never know unless he comes back, but I don't think he will. But I don't know. I don't know how much of that is true. I don't think our owners are completely blameless, though. I think there will be issues with the structure whereby he'll probably say, "Yeah, I've had a promotion. I want a bit more my own way, whether it's on transfers or training or who bring in terms of backroom staff." And I can see the likes of Speakman and one or two will involved being hardline with them and saying, "No, this is what you signed up for." So I can see there being friction there.
Yeah.
He's always going to paint a rosy picture of himself, though, Mike, isn't he? To try and sort of sweeten.
Well, he literally said, like, as you come into the doors at Sunderland, he said there was no illusions. He said, I was under no illusion I could sign a 30-year-old striker for the experience, something like that. He said he was told straight, they develop young players. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. So he was told that from the outset. So it shows how, like, as soon as a manager's through the door, they're getting told you can't do this. It does sound... It sounds less make-believe and more like what our model is. It sounds like the Speakman and KLD thing. So I kind of believe the guy and do feel a bit sorry for the guy. And I'll probably get shot for that, I'm sure. Go to the comments to detract from what I just said.
I can't believe you just said it. Feel sorry for Alex Neil. Wow. Let's move on from that, Mike. Mick Coleman says, John Nesbitt, one half of the Nesbitt brothers is in. He said, evening, lads. Mick Coleman, James Ballard has been our best attacker, which says all about our attack. Sure on that, I do take the point on board that he has been, and it's sort of looked the most likely sometimes to get a goal, sometimes anyway. Bristolian Mackham says, when we bought Ballard, we told he's a very good passer of the ball. Yeah, I think that's without question. Colin Major, according to Radio Newcastle, it's been confirmed that Seal is out for the rest of the season. Yes, I think that is the case. We'll probably come on to Colin's point later on when we touch on the QPR game with defenders. Paul Havelock, talking about managers, says, would you be with Neil Warnock coming in? He's in Aberdeen now, and has heard him say that he could have done more for Aberdeen if he'd had more time. I thought that it might not be a bad idea just till the end of the season. Whether or not Warnock would work well with our really young squad, considering he's, is he 75 or something along those lines? I don't know. That would be my question mark, how well he would work with the youngsters. But he has got a bit of a track record from coming into teams needing to kick up the backside towards the end of the season on a short-term deal recently and doing well. I know it didn't work out for him at Aberdeen. Mick Coleman says, for 50 years, we've suffered the same 5-year plan. Now it's the model. Same difference, and I'm totally peeved off with all of the plans which never work. We feel you, Mick. We feel you. We've spoken about our model and we've criticised it to death on this show, so we feel you. You're not the only one. Bob Bass says, heard Mad Mistake mention there's a rumour that Speakman's going in the summer. Have you heard anything? I haven't heard anything of that. You know, Mike might want to come on to that when I've finished. Mick Coleman last week, he suggested Warnock, he would do that. Beanburger Man, that's a really interesting name there, Mike. Beanburger Man. Do you think the amount of injuries is down to asking too much too soon? Young players are usually eased into teams, whereas they've just kind of been expected to throw in the team. We kind of just expect them to be thrown in the team and expected to handle it. Yeah, I think that's, you know, what we're saying. You need a blend. You need to blend them in. But in this situation we're in now, we're down to the fact that, yeah, play them and see what happens. But they are going to make mistakes. I don't think any Sunderland fan isn't expecting that. There are going to be mistakes. I mean, like you say, Bellingham and Rigg, they were both at fault for the first 2 goals on Saturday. Paul Havelock, Big Sam back, possibly. Pagged, Dwight York, Neil Warnock. This is how far we've fallen. Bristolian Macklem, no one is young enough with those kind of contracts. Who's Dwight York going to call on? Paul Scholes to come out of retirement? I dare say Paul Scholes would be able to get a game in our midfield.
I think he'd do a job as well.
No, he probably wouldn't be able to move very much, but his vision and his passing ability, that would definitely go down a treat. Yeah. Just a couple more. Paul Havelock, are we still an attractive team to bring big-name managers to the club? Depends what you're after as a manager. If you're after a big name, sometimes big name doesn't always work out, though. You know, I think Roy Keane was mentioned before Alex Neil came in, wasn't he? I wouldn't have wanted Roy Keane at all. He's a big-name manager, and I don't think Roy Keane would have got us promoted from League One. So I take what he's saying, but I don't think big name is necessarily always the best. David Brown, Alex Neil said he also had problems with recruitment and lack of experience. I reckon he's current favourite for the job. Not sure on that. And there's a few more, but I'll come on to those maybe in a bit.
Yeah, it sounds like David Brown's watched the same thing I have. And do you know what I'll do is just at the very end, for the people that stick around, 105 people watching at the moment, stay all the way to the end, and I'll put in the comments before we go the link to that interview so you can go and watch it straight after us. Let them know. Let the guys know that we sent you from this channel as well in the comments. Right. So, I mean, we may as well go on to the next game. We could talk about managers all day long, I'm sure. Sealt being injured is probably the first point of discussion for this before we actually preview QPR. We're running out of defenders. And then after the QPR game, we've got the internationals, and Hume and Ballard have both been called up. And all I can think of with internationals right now, the way we are, is more injuries.
Yeah, but ideal. You want to, when you're struggling, you want to wrap your players up in cotton wool, don't you? But it's difficult because they're gonna both want to play for Northern Ireland, but at the same time, you want to say to them, look, realistically, we need you here. You know, we're struggling so much, but it's hard because a player has probably the right to go and play international football. So it is a bit of a difficult one. We've just got to keep our fingers, toes, and then it's crossed that they don't get any more injuries. Because, yeah, we are really struggling. I mean, Luke O'Nien's back after QPR, isn't he? This is his second game he's suspended, so O'Nien will be back. I've been critical of him in the past, but I think we probably did miss him to a certain extent on Saturday. So, yeah, O'Nien's back after the QPR game, the international break. So that's one caveat. He'll at least be back. So there's one centre-back back, but we are struggling in the full-back positions in the other areas.
But, I mean, I don't know if they're first string for Northern Ireland, but Northern Ireland's got Romania on the 22nd and Scotland on the 26th, and then our game's on the 29th. That's a hell of an ask if they're playing both of them games.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't know how much football they will be expected to play for Northern Ireland, but we've just got to try and hope that they don't get injured. Are those friendlies, Mike, or are they sort of one of those, what they called Nations Leagues? Or
no, I think they're just friendlies. The Nations League starts in September, so
right.
I think the friendlies. But is Northern Ireland versus Scotland ever a friendly? If it's a home nations game, is it ever a friendly?
I know what you mean. Yeah, there's always be a few tackles going in that game, isn't there? So yeah, just moving on to Sealt as well. I agree. I don't think he's shown that much. He may be not as developed as we thought he was going to be. You're sort of saying he's never going to be ready. It's hard because you don't want to completely rule him out when they're young. But I know, I mean, he hasn't really set the world alight, has he, so far? But
No.
he was another number at the back, so he is going to be missing between now and the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back. If he comes back next season, will he get me back involved again, or will we loan him out when he's fit? Who knows? I suppose that's another argument for another day. But it would have been interesting to see this season if he had developed and improved. I think he might have got a little bit better towards the end of the season, but it's not great for him personally now that he's got a bit of a recovery ahead of him.
I'm seeing a few Scottish people on my feed telling us how wonderful Triantis is. Do we have a recall clause? Do you think we can get him back?
I doubt. I mean, I don't know if we or not. Pass. If we have, probably, maybe bring him back. But there might be something there that says he can't come back. There might be a clause. Yeah. I've got no idea. Would you bring him back and play him though, Mike? Would you slot him straight in? Or?
I think you'd have to at this stage. We're running out of centre backs. Is 09 still banned for this next game, right?
Yeah, 09. This is the last game. This is the second game he's suspended, so he should be back for Cardiff on Easter Friday after the international break.
And if Ballard's still not 100% after coming off,
well, it would be then.
Give me your defence. There we go. For this game, give me your defence.
Probably Hume's fit, isn't he? Hume, maybe Styles. Is Ballard? I don't know. Styles, Ballard, Hjelde, Styles, Ballard, Hume from left to right. I don't know. I mean,
if there's no Ballard, have we got anyone? You're gonna have to put Pembele in there somewhere, aren't you? Right?
If no Ballard, you'd have to probably put Pembele in centre back with Hjelde. Styles left back, Hjelde, Pembele centre back, and Hume right back. But it's like makeshift beyond makeshift, that isn't it? It's the most makeshift defence you've ever seen in your life.
I don't want to do the commentary for the next one. I don't want to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict what team he's going to come out with because he just changes it all the time. Rusin needs to get a start for me. If he doesn't, then there's serious issues, right?
Yeah, I don't know what he's done wrong, to be fair. I don't know why he's not playing more because he looks like he's going to create something or he's going to make somebody make a mistake every time he comes on and he's pressing and he's aggressive and the fans get behind him. So I don't know what the reason is for him not playing, but what have you got to lose? You know, Burstow hasn't really set the world alight. He hasn't done that well. So yeah, I would be inclined to play Rusin as much as we can between now and the end of the season.
I've put their special banner on the screen. If you want to go to the comments, the Nesbitt brothers are in the house.
I will go to the comments, yeah, because they're starting to pick up a little bit in speed. I'll try and catch up from where we were. Stephen Clark says, "Evening lads. It looks like every manager we have had has been told that we will not sign older, experienced players. So why the hell are we going then without experience?" Well, I think it's sort of a 2 and 3 year plan that they're going to just sit and watch develop and see what happens, which the fans aren't going to take because our fans are impatient and passionate. But that's what they're going to try. This is a sort of 3, 4, 5 year plan, and they're just going to sit and watch it develop and see what happens. So, John Nesbitt, the model along with the present owners and Speakman is not fit for purpose. We need Warnock, and his Dodds hasn't got a clue. Bob Bass, Alex Neil was the best manager we've had in years. Alex Neil's problem is the Sunderland fans have a prejudiced view of him. Speakman sounds totally at fault listening to Neil's interview. So Bob is like you. He's sort of tending to agree with what Alex Neil's saying and tends to think he's telling the truth more than anything else. Kenny Fox, funny that Alex Neil's experience to Speakman sounds pretty similar to Stewart and Pritchard's. Telling the fans one thing and offering them something else. Bristolian Macamon Super Kev, Raymond Longstaff, Alex Neil was not the man who sat in the Stokes. Alex Neil, was he not the man who sat in the Stokes stands while manager at Sunderland? Yeah, there was that. There was that we didn't touch on. Not great from a professional point of view. That it didn't go down well with our supporters, and it shouldn't. It was a bad move from him, really. Colin Major says he can't touch his toes, let alone cross them. As Jim and John are having a bit of a fist bump, and there's my brothers in the house. Jim says Trent is playing well as a defensive midfielder for Hibs. Oh, yeah. I didn't realise he wasn't playing centre back. So he's playing as a central defensive midfielder. Okay, wish we'd known that earlier. And the last comment is Paul Havelock. Yeah, we will be playing with the reserve shortly. we might have to recall some players. Isn't there an injury clause in this league? I think it all depends on what's written in the contract, doesn't it, Mike? I think it depends on what we've stipulated as part of the contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any extenuating circumstances that let you get players back or loan players or whatever. I've no idea. Hopefully we won't get to that level where we're fielding, half the youth team. And, we've just signed a new lady for the ladies team. She looks quite good. Maybe she could have a shout in the men's team. I don't know. We'll have to try something at this stage. I've no idea what's going on anymore. So, QPR then, it's a home game at least. If we're going to end a bad run of form, it's going to be a home game. They're 20th, and they're not, they've lost the last one. They're not on the wonderful run, but they've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1 in their last 5 games. But is this not the kind of team that we always trip up against? I'd rather be playing somebody in 6th position, 7th position, because we seem to play harder. So, the only good thing with QPR, I think, if I remember rightly, I was looking over their results. They're never really big, high-scoring games when they've won. It's been 1-0, 2-1, 2-2, 2-1. It's never like there's no 5-0s and 6-0, so they're not prolific scorers, which is going to bode well for our have-a-go defence. How do you see this one panning out, Jack? Are we going to end this run under Dodds?
I like to think so. I don't think we're going to lose all. Is it 8 or 9? Is it 9 games that's left, Mike? You said, is it 9? Or is it
9.
9. I don't think we're going to lose all 9 games. I think there is a win coming very, very shortly. I'll come on to my prediction in a second, but it's going to be quite positive from me, considering what I've been like recently. And yeah, it's got to happen sometime. We've got to, even dare I say it, even a point. I don't want a point, and I'm not saying we should be happy with a point, but a point is beneficial in the fact that at least it ends the run, so you put a stop to the lose and run. I'm not saying it will be a good result because it wouldn't. We need to be winning games like this, but even a point. I'm trying to make the point that even a point is a sort of stop to the negativity and the run that we're on, because you can easily see it sort of spiraling and you do get dragged into that. So while I want to win, and I think we will get a win, a point just to stop the consecutive losses.
Yeah, break the fall.
But exactly, but please don't think that because the comments are going to be like, we shouldn't be playing for a point. You want a point. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that just to stop the losses, but obviously we should be trying to win the game, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we've never really done this, but what I want to do, I want a quick yes or no from you, right? I'm going to list the 9 last games, and you realistically, can we win? So QPR at home.
Yes, I think we will win. I think we will win.
Cardiff away.
No, we won't win.
No. Blackburn at home.
No, we won't win.
Bristol at home.
Yes, I think we will be Bristol City home.
Leeds away.
Definitely not.
West Brom away.
No, we won't win that either.
Millwall at home.
Yes, we will beat Millwall at home.
Watford away.
No, we won't win that.
And the last one's Sheffield at home.
Yes. So how many is that in 9? Am I saying 4 wins out of 9? Jesus.
Yeah, you give us 12 points. So
I promise. I think we'll get 4 wins and maybe a draw or 2. So I'm going to try and be positive. I think something like 13 or 14 more points between now and the end of the season, and we'll probably finish around about 11th, 12th, something like that. I'm trying to be positive, trying to be as positive as I can.
Not as positive for me. We're going to win all of them 3-1. So.
Well, playoffs here we come then, like 18 more points, something like
that. 27, I think, is up for grabs.
27,
right?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't do the maths. Yeah, so 27 more points. We're in the playoffs. That might still not even be enough.
Yeah. Let's touch quickly before we end on what somebody said about the rumours about Speakman. I know someone mentioned the Mad Mistake, who's a regular on this channel, apparently mentioned that. I've not seen anything on it. I can't say I have seen anything on it. But one thing I will say, I don't think you would hear rumours for that. I do not think you would hear a rumour. He'd be here today. He'd be gone tomorrow. There wouldn't be a rumour. It would be an overnight decision. It's not like a player or a manager where he's performing badly, so they're thinking about it. This is decisions that are beyond anyone lower down in the club's comprehension. KLD's got to just sit there thinking and decide. So I'm unsure where a rumour like that could possibly come from. What do you think of it, Jack?
I don't know. Again, I don't think so. Nothing would surprise me in football if he did go. But I don't think so. He seems to have, negatively in my opinion, but quite a hold on the football club at the minute. So I don't think he would be in a position to go. He's still quite well thought of. So I don't think he'll go at the end of the season. But nothing would surprise me. I mean, we've had a few surprises this season, haven't we? And it's never boring at Sunderland, as we always say. So it wouldn't surprise me massively if he went, but I don't think so. I think he's personally here at least for the summer window at the very, very, very least.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have him as long as we've got KLD and this regime. I don't think it's a case of he's going to go before anything else. I mean, but there's always going to be rumours that we're selling the club, this, that, and the other anyway, isn't there? So they never stop them rumours by the looks of it. So
yeah, possibly.
I'm just trying to see. We are on 50 likes. We've got 100 people watching. So there's 50 of you that's not even bothered to hit the thumb. Shame. Go and hit it now. Let's try and get to 100 likes before we finish. Do you want to go pick up the last of the comments?
Yeah, there's a few more to go before we'll wrap it up and we'll give our predictions. So I'll try and pick up where I left off. David Brown says Alex Neil sat in the Stoke stand and was not disciplined by us, which says it all. Rafa Ali, KLD, this club is a toy for him. He's a boy doing a man's job and he can't do it. He's never fixed the stadium. The toilets don't work. Some of them don't flush. And there's other things. So he is not a KLD fan, let's say, Rafa Ali. Stephen Clark, do you think we'll always be in the Championship as long as the board and this model are at our club? Do you ever see us going forward in the Premiership based on Speakman's latest signings? I think it's all speculation. I think we would have to get our recruitment absolutely spot on. So at the minute, probably no would be my answer. I think we would have to tweak it to a certain level to try and make sure that we'll get promotion. It all depends on the recruitment who we bring in. Paul Havelock says Sunderland are going to win 3-0 on Saturday. John Nesbitt says Speakman's the problem at the club. And he says, I've got more confidence than him. Paul Havelock says, I'm trying to keep the faith. I'm trying to keep the faith, lads. It's difficult. If he goes, it's like winning the lottery, says John. Mick Coleman says, the problem is that we lose games we should win and win games we expect to lose. That's why predictions are nigh on impossible to get right. Yeah. And David Brown says, Sartori may have told Dreyfus to get rid of Speakman. No surprises there. David Brown says that he thinks Sartori's pulling the strings.
Well, apparently he's the one that pulled the trigger on Beale, if you listen to the rumours, right? I said his name. There's a pound in the jar, sorry. But yeah, apparently he's on. Well, I mean, I hope that's right, David Brown. I really do, because something's got to change. And if he does go, make sure somebody's in place or somebody's advising KLD that will actually take us forward and not backwards. So your predictions for this one, Jack?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and be positive. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet because we're all over the place at the back. And like you say, I've said I've got a makeshift defence, but I'm going to be positive. I think we'll win 2-1. I'm going to say 2-1 to Sunderland on Saturday.
I'm going to be positive as well. We're going to win 4-3.
4-3. Wow. Okay. 4-3.
It's going to be goals galore on Saturday. So tune in to my commentary to see my reactions to all of them. Here on SAFC Fan TV. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're not new, don't forget to hit like anyway. We've got membership at $1.99 that you can join, see members only content, get loads of little emoticons. It's all wonderful. And eventually, when the admin update it, your name will be in the credits at the end. So is there anything more from you, Jack, before we sign off?
No, I'll just go one final time to comment. A couple of people are giving the predictions. John Nesbitt thinks it's going to be 1-1. David says 2-1. I assume he means to Sunderland. Stephen Clark. Stephen Clark's like me, usually very negative. 3-1 QPR. No defence, no strikers, no service, no good. Stephen, come on. Come on. To be fair, that's normally me. I'm normally quite negative on here with my predictions. I would say realistic, but some would say negative. So those are a few predictions. Hopefully, the ones that say we're going to right and the ones that say we're going to lose need a kick with the backside. But yeah, I think we're just wrapping up. So thanks for being a part of the show, everybody. We wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for you. It would just be two blokes chatting rubbish to each other, wouldn't we, Mike? So thanks to everybody for getting involved, and I'll see you all later, lads and lasses.
Yeah, we are still two blokes chatting rubbish to each other. So we just got an audience. It's great. Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. I have posted that link to that interview with Alex Neil there. If you can't use the link, it's EFL Debate. Make sure you let them know that the SAFC Fan TV people sent you over to watch it, which would be nice. Other than that, we will see you all in the next video, and I will see you match day if you're around. Bye.